What are the downsides of weed that people don't talk about? As a pretty consistent weed smoker, I don't like when people say that weed isn't addicting. They're right in saying that it's not addictive chemically like nicotine or something. You can still get addicted to not being sober. I smoked pretty heavily for a long time, and I quit cold turkey one day because I realized it made me okay with things I shouldn't be okay with. The first few days to a week is awful. You're constantly like, man, I could really use a bowl, it sure would make right now better. Edit, I was just made aware there's a subreddit for people trying to get away from weed. It's called r/leaves. I've noticed after the initial uptick in chatter people tend to get really quiet, and zoned out in their own thoughts. When I used to smoke it, I found it had a dulling effect on my personality and conversational skills after the fact, too. Yeah, I'd never tell any of my sweet lovely friends this in real life in case it hurts their feelings, but a couple of them are a lot less fun after they smoke weed. Edit, to clarify, since I got a million replies, I'm specifically talking about that one friend who's really awesome and you're having a great conversation, having the time of your life and really connecting on a personal level and all that cheesy stuff. Then said friend goes outside to smoke weed, and comes back and spends the rest of the night quietly sitting in a corner with their eyes glazed over staring at their phone, giving one-word answers to everything and generally being about as engaging as a brick wall. If you're reading this and thinking, wow, I am this friend, dude, I've got no problem with weed or drugs and I don't judge you for doing them, but maybe you should try smoking only half the joint next time or something, I don't know. Hate it when my friends go smoke during a party. We'll be in, having a great time, playing some board or card games, everyone socializing. Then they'll smoke, come back, everyone just wants to sit on the couch and watch a movie, and no one wants to talk about anything except for how high they are. Haven't told them, but it does bother me. It can become your only personality trait. Thank you. I'm at a college known for being notoriously heavy-handed on the weed culture. Some of my peers' only goal is when they are going to get their next high, and like they are so stuck in the culture that they just become sort of boring and their personality lacks dimension. I'm not someone who thinks the practice is evil, just got to use in moderation, like anything. Demotivation in heavy consumers. It is fine in moderation, but multiple times per day seems to suck the ambition from most people I've seen, including myself long ago. South Park said it best. Well, son, pot makes you feel fine with being bored. And it's when you're bored you should be learning some new skills or discovering some new science or being creative. If you smoke pot you may grow up to find out that you aren't good at anything. One thing that I never see brought up is the effect of marijuana on dreaming. Marijuana use can prevent the user from dreaming during regular sleep. When the user stops using marijuana for a while, they can experience night after night of extremely vivid dreams. I can only speak for my own experience, but I have heard this echoed by a co-worker's dad who started smoking again because he couldn't handle having acid trip dreams every night. I suspect that marijuana has some potent effect on REM sleep that will remain underdocumented until it is descheduled and more thorough research can be done. I smoked every day for about 10 years, minus about 6 months in all that, as I needed to be clean for a drug test for a job. Emo weed starts off amazing and fun, but after becoming a habitual smoker it turns into a crux that's hard to shake. It's not that it's super addicting, it's just nothing is as fun as being high, so you want to be high all the time. It dulls feelings but highlights feelings of existentialism which can sometimes be overbearing. I would also feel stuck in my life a lot, like it would be hard to make changes, but I would want better things for myself, but it always seemed impossible to achieve. I did have problems with breathing, but I have a history of asthma and took up Tai Chi to compensate, which I found really enjoyable, and it helped me to slow down greatly on smoking. The one most annoying thing with being a smoker is your tolerance level goes way up, so even though you are smoking you aren't getting that high you used to get, just a mind-numbing insomnia almost. I also had a loss of appetite over time and ate less. It also made me feel comfortable with where I was in life, and I had a lack of motivation, though some days like once a month or two it could really motivate you to do something, but that would wither away quickly. Overall I would recommend it only at parties or every once in a while, but I quit a while ago and never want to go back to being a daily smoker. Also, me being an expectant mother now has changed my feelings towards it. I don't want my kids growing up around it or around me being high. I feel they should find that on their own if they want, and I shouldn't influence them to think it's okay. Edit. Wow, a lot of comments on this, which is surprising for me. I will try to answer you all over time. Thank you everyone for the gold and silver and such. I just want to say I did mean crux instead of crutch. Like I said, we'd highlighted thoughts and feelings of existentialism in my life. So I felt like a martyr almost on my quest to find answers to these questions. I felt like I was crucifying myself for a righteous cause to know what I wanted to know. Also, a lot of people saying I described addiction when I stated weed wasn't addicting. I always thought if something was addicting you couldn't quit cold turkey due to your body going into shock or death. Or that you couldn't quit without help like methadone for heroin addicts or something. Since I quit weed cold turkey and when I wanted to, I didn't think it was addicting. Like I choose to eat eggs every day for breakfast, it's not addicting but I like it and choose it. But maybe I am addicted? Lol, just stating. Also, I did psychedelics for a period of time throughout all this. So maybe this changed how weed affects me over time. I had a lot of bad trips and can't even think about tripping again. Weed is for people that have found their way in life, it's not for people who are looking for the way. My uncle. In other words, as fun as it may seem when you're young. Get your shit together first: education, family, career, etc. This is really true. I smoke weed but I have a successful life. My brother isn't very successful and also smokes. Guess which one of our weed habits my parents complain about? Edit. I guess this was ambiguous. My parents are unhappy with my brother smoking. They don't care if I do. In fact, I've been high with my mom a few times. Which was really surreal, considering her stance against weed when I was a teenager. I would say that as a long-term smoker that wants out, it has made me incredibly boring. If I have evening plans on the weekend but smoke anything in the day, then I'm far more prone to cancelling those nighttime plans. If I do attend those plans after smoking in the day, then I feel I'm not entirely there. Awkward silences, jokes don't land, keeping a conversation going becomes 10x harder, and I'm inevitably just waiting for an appropriate time to leave. Overall, it just kinda makes you socially awkward and super boring to be around in a social setting. Just from my experience. I remember one party I was at, sitting in a corner, and the whole night felt like one of those scenes in movies when the guy stands there and everything behind is blurry and in fast motion. People would come and sit next to me, have whole conversations that I would listen to, and then go, but could not interact at all. Weird. I was trying to drink less at the time and as a result smoked way more. It was not working. It seems like most of my response has already been said, but I want to reiterate 3 major observations what I've noticed from my own semi-frequently weed consumption. Demotivation. The impact from weed on motivation levels I find is in 2 parts. The first part is when you initially consume the weed, most people fall into a habit of eating food and watching something on TV. The second part I found is the next morning, I experience a type of weed hangover the following morning. I feel more groggy and more susceptible to just loading around the following day. Anxiety. Things that aren't currently stressing you out may start to induce anxiety in you. While this isn't always the case, weed has the potential to worsen your mental state if you aren't careful. This impact became more pronounced when I smoked weed solo. Having other people around allowed me to be more present in the moment, whereas I was in my head when I was alone. Food consumption, I found for me that continued weed use led to some unhealthy eating habits. The munchies are real, and for often that not you are craving food that is not considered healthy. If this becomes a more common occurrence, then your overall diet can go south quickly.